Yeah, it's 11:34. So it's still morning time. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Anybody that's going to check out this cast, let me send out a couple shares here just to make sure that we are still synced in here. What's going on there? The LTE has been horrible because people's power has been out. So we are coming hopefully with a full stream. I was unable to get up a couple times that I actually set up to get up because people are using the LTE at a higher level because, what's up, Kyra? So many people are out of power. And if you're out of power, it means you don't have Wi-Fi and you're forced to use the LTE. So when I would try to come up, if I was in an area that was probably had a lot of people either out of power or just their Wi-Fi wasn't connected, because we had power, but we just didn't have internet, it wouldn't allow me to connect. It would just buffer and buffer and buffer. So hopefully today, with more people having power, people getting back to getting their Wi-Fi back, we will be able to do what we need to do. Sending a couple shares out to the pages on Facebook because I'm in the car, not in the studio, where I know brings the cast up. Shout out to my family's page. My family page, my cousin Justin, who's actually a journalist. He's a news broadcaster in another market. And he checked out the stream from Freeman Friday, so that was cool. I know a lot of family doesn't listen. You know, I got a lot of family that, you know, they're hemmed into church and a lot of different other things, and they're not as progressive as far as where I am with reparative justice and things like that. So I get why they don't listen. So when I do talk about that, hopefully people don't take that as a bad thing. You know, when I say, you know, my family, it's not, I don't feel like, you know, they're in a bad way. Some people have a way of thinking, and that thinking's not going to change. So I share it, and those who want to check it out with the family, I know they're not going to look at the lives a lot of times, but what they are going to do, they're able to do, is go back and see what I've been putting down, and it's obviously for us. You know, I'm not doing any of this out here for myself, but I'm looking for reparative justice, you know, on all levels. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that today. You know, Washtenaw County has started a advisory council speaking on reparations. They just introduced the Detroit Reparations Task Force. I'm going to speak on that today. I don't believe personally, my mood is not going to change on this, and my ideology is not going to change on this because it doesn't need to change. Reparations cannot be paid by a city, by a town, by a township, by a county, by a state. Reparations is a national debt, okay? Now, what can happen, and we talked about these things before, and I'll speak on them a little bit today. What can happen through the states are different initiatives, different programs, different policy and legislation directed towards solely descendants of American chattel slaves. I don't think anybody should even be trying to qualify for reparations, reparative justice, any type of policy and legislation that is directly connected to American chattel slavery. And the problem that I have out here with a lot of these politicians speaking on this black and brown shit, that hurts our cause. Any politician that wants to speak on black and brown, people of color, minorities, they are not the person that needs to be speaking on reparative justice for descendants of chattel slaves, because they obviously don't know how to decipher from which people that were enslaved versus people that may have been discriminated against or had some mean things said to them or whatever. And there needs to be a separation. there needs to be a total separation of descendants of chattel slaves and everybody else. Because I understand that everybody's had something bad happen to them. That's white supremacy. I get it. But everybody does not deserve and does not qualify for reparations. Now, if y'all just want to make it, oh, all black people, all people got melanin in their skin, say that. Say that from the outset. So your people, your constituents, people that vote for you, the people that support you, know you're not for them. Just say that. And we'll talk more about that when I start talking solely about the Washtenaw thing and the Detroit thing. I'm even going to break down the task force term. I don't like people using the task force terminology because task force means something. It actually means something. This doesn't mean a gathering of old black folks or young black folks or any black folks. It should mean what it means, and that's it. And task force is being thrown around as gratuitously as reparations is now. So we need to stop that. But being that this is the last day of the 28 days of Freedmen History Month, a lot of you say Black History Month. I get it, no problem. I thought I'd bring in something that every day that I stream now, we'll have Dwight Person of the Day, Dwight Word of the Day. And this is actually a couple days old. I tried to get this off, but because I wasn't able to get to a solid standpoint of being able to stream, it's a couple days late. So some of you may have heard this audio already from Scott Adams. He is the creator and cartoonist of the comic strip DILBERT. Not a very popular comic strip, especially amongst black folks. Hell, his comic strip actually isn't even that popular amongst white folks, but it's lasted for a long time because it ain't like people are running trying to knock comic strips off the board. But he has been taken off several news publications. He has been taken off several online publications. So DILBERT took a dip when he made the statements that he made. And like I said, a lot of people don't even know about this because they're not really in tune with some of the things. And this is where I kind of follow the commentary. I mean, I had Ben Stein last week. People didn't even, and I sent that to a few of my American Jewish friends and said, hey, I want your thoughts on this. And they all came back pretty much with the same type of commentary. Had no idea about it. Like I said, a lot of these things don't hit the radar of people who it might be from their collective. Ben Stein is an American Jewish person. I sent it to American Jewish. I wasn't going to send it to a whole bunch of black people. What I need to send it to a whole bunch of black people for? Black people should have been watching it already or listening to it already and understanding that things like this happen every single day. But Scott Adams said what he said, and the people and the powers that be thought against it, and they are now pulling DILBERT off of their publications, as they should. I believe the only way that you hit white supremacists where you need to hit them is in their pockets. You hit them in their pockets, then they start either shutting up or getting right. There ain't no beating nobody up. There ain't no bombing. There ain't no killing. There ain't none of that anybody needs to do. Hit him in the pockets and you'll get some act right out of them. Trust me. That's the last thing any of these people want to do is lose their leverage, lose their access, lose their capabilities. Nobody wants to do that. So let me just play this audio and we can get this popping. One quick sec, make sure it's up. Yeah, let's see if it's up.
So if nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the fuck away. Wherever you have to go, just get away. Because there's no fixing this. This can't be fixed. Right? This can't be fixed. You just have to escape. So that's what I did. I went to a neighborhood where, I have a very low black population. Because unfortunately, there's a high correlation between the density. This is according to Don Lemon, by the way. So here I'm just quoting Don Lemon when he notes that when he lived in a mostly black neighborhood, there were a bunch of problems that he didn't see in white neighborhoods. So even Don Lemon sees a big difference in your own quality of living based on where you live and who's there. So I think it makes no sense whatsoever as a white citizen of America to try to help black citizens anymore. It doesn't make sense. It's no longer a rational impulse. And so I'm gonna back off from being helpful to black America because it doesn't seem like it pays off. Like I've been doing it all my life, and the only outcome is I get called a racist. That's the only outcome. It makes no sense to help black Americans if you're white. It's over. Don't even think it's worth trying. Totally not trying. And there we go. You didn't expect that today, did you? But those who don't want to focus on education, you just need to get away from them. Just get as much distance as you can. That's my recommendation. And I'm also really sick of seeing video after video of black Americans beating up non-black citizens. I realize it's anecdotal, and it doesn't give me a full picture of what's happening. But every damn day I look on social media and there's some black person beating the shit out of some white person. I'm kind of over it. I'm over it. Right? So I quit.
So that lunacy, that real lunacy, and what he said, because he lost me when he said Don Lemon. When he brought Don Lemon up and used him as somebody that black America could say, oh, if Don said it, oh, I know you golden here. He had lost me there. But I've listened to this so many times now. Scott Adams is indeed a bigot. Okay, we know this. We know this, and we didn't even have to listen to this to know this. You could have just gone back and listened to anything that he has pretty much spoken on for the last several years, because I didn't want to just take this 2 minutes and 51 seconds and basically have a whole synopsis of Scott, a global synopsis of Scott Adams or DILBERT. I've read the DILBERT comic strip before, but when I looked at other things, his other podcasts and different things like that, I'm like, so okay, I get it. I see who he is, but what really brought this out? Like, what made this a necessity to do that particular day? What's up, Free? What made this to be something he had to put out there to the masses? Because he's a pretty popular guy with white America. Not very well known with black America, but he's a popular guy. He may even be popular with people of color. He may be popular with minorities. He may be popular with some other ethnicity groups, but he's really not popular in black America. Okay? He doesn't do anything for black people. Contrary to what he said he's just given up. He's going to stop doing stuff for black people. Well, I didn't know he was doing stuff for black people in the first place. I've never heard of Scott Adams actually doing anything for black people, for black America. Christopher, how you doing this morning? But since he thinks he's doing something for black folks, I'm going to let him say that he's doing something for black folks. I don't think personally Scott Adams has done one thing for black America, but since he said he was doing stuff and now he's going to stop, let's see how far black America will fall without the help of Scott Adams, okay? But what made him say this is really what he's at a decisive point. He's at a fork in the road. He's saying he is no longer going to help black America. He's done with us. It's over for us. We're not going to get any more Adams assistance. The Adams assistance program is over. Sister Gozetta from Little Rock, how you doing, sister? I mean, the Adams train has left, and blacks are not allowed on the train anymore. He basically made that clear. He made that clear. So I want to know, what has Scott Adams actually done for black America, and what are we going to lose out on without his assistance? I don't think he's done one thing personally. I've never heard of anybody even engaging with Scott Adams that is an American descendant of chattel slavery, an American freedman. I don't know any black people that mess with Scott Adams, but he says he's stopping us. He's stopping us right now from getting his assistance. He's not going to deal with us no more. So it is what it is. Okay. But this is what he sends out to his 15, 20,000 viewers or listeners to his podcast. This particular segment is now gone viral all over social media. So you've got to think, other people are probably thinking, what have black people done to make him so angry if they're listening to this? Or when he said that about black people, and Don Lemon said that when he lived in black neighborhoods, he said there were big differences between the way things are with him now living in a predominantly white neighborhood. Of course, if you come up in an area that is impoverished, you are definitely going to have a different lifestyle than you have when you move to a more affluent area. It wasn't a fair assessment for him to make, but that's what white supremacists do. They only make the assessment that skews their narrative the positive way. I get that. I have no problem with that part. But why use Don Lemon? Especially Don Lemon, who's on the last leg of CNN. Don done used up 8 3/4 lives at CNN, and he's got 1 foot out the door. But you're going to use Don Lemon to say, yeah, Don Lemon even said black neighborhoods are totally different than white neighborhoods. Okay, you didn't need Don Lemon to say that. But that's what he used, and that's what white supremacists will do. They'll try to use somebody who they think is woke, who is pro-black, who is Black Lives Matter, against black people. And I don't look at Don Lemon to be against black people in any way. He just has his politically correct way of being for us. And I get that. He's trying to hold on to that seat. Another person over here got a dog that drags him. I mean, I don't know what this is about, why these people get these dogs that they can't control. And the dog just literally just pretty much doing what they want. Sorry, being distracted there. So Don Lemon was used inappropriately, but that's not his only thing. He says he's tired of getting online and seeing black people beat up white people all day. Every time he gets online, he sees black people beating up white people online. What channel is he on? Because I haven't seen any black person beating up any white people based on race, based on I'm bigger than you, you're smaller than me, based on whatever. The last internet fight that I posted an internet fight. And it was the sister who they looked like they was at some type of office, maybe a bank or something, and she retaliated to being hit and kicked. She didn't even strike first, but she struck last several times. So don't blame black folks if they are retaliating, because I have seen some videos where black folks are retaliating, whether they're being struck physically or having nigger hurled at them. Because I don't expect any black man or black woman or even a black child to stand down if you're going to stand right in their face and call them a nigger. I don't expect it. Now, should we be able to compose ourselves? Yes, but I understand if you end up slapping the shit out of somebody, if they spitting in your face and the word nigger comes out with that saliva. I totally get it. I totally get it. But he's saying it's all over the internet. And I watch a lot of very left cast. I watch very right cast. And then I watch some middle of the road peoples. But the very left people don't show that. I haven't seen it on the very right side. And you know, if black people were out here in mass beating up white folks, that'd be on Fox News all day long. Fox News couldn't get enough of that. And then they would have their minions. What's the little lawyer named Leo? And what's the other black guy, his name is always on Fox? They'd have them narrating it. They'd have them narrating it like it was HBO boxing. But that's not the case. There ain't that many altercations that are even put online with black and white people. That's not the headline, and that's not the image that they want to put out there anyway. White people don't want to put an image out about black people beating white people up all over the country. I don't care how much violence happens. That's never going to be the top of the line story anywhere. That's not going to be at the top of anybody's timeline, a whole bunch of black people beating up a whole bunch of white people. They are not going to steer that narrative in America. That's just word. But for him to say that, for him to bring that out, that was craziness to me. And he brought it out, and nobody said anything about it other than the fact, like, look at this, look at this. White people ain't talking about it because they know it's a lie. White people don't even rock with Scott Adams like that. Aren't going to say anything about it because they know it's a lie. And the people that are rocking with them, they going to look for it. They wondering where it's at. But that's not happening in mass, and he knows it. He's looking for an excuse. He's looking for an excuse to say, I don't want to deal with black people anymore. He said at the beginning, I went to a place that there's not a lot of black people, and that's where he dwells. That's where he feels safe. Okay. That's good for him to feel that way. But why did he feel the need to air it? What was the benefit in him airing it? That's what the problem was. And it is what it is. But that literally was the thought of the day. Dwight thought of the day. It's a couple days old just based on the fact that I wasn't able to get streams up and whatnot. So I figured I'd start back in the car because I know that if my testing speed is up, I'll probably be able to get something up later tonight. But, you know, with these power outages and internet speeds have to be at a certain level for you to be able to stream, I wasn't able to get anything going, and it was very tough in the car. And I'm not a struggler like that. I don't need to just hit play, hit record, whatever you want to call it, just to go live. If it's not clear, you can't hear the message, there ain't no point in me wasting the message. The message is going to be what it's going to be, whether I do it then or I do it 3 days later. The message is always going to be what it's going to be. So, I appreciate the response, brother. I just wanted to know because I'm going to actually speak on it on my live that's happening right now, period. Thank you for the reply. So, a lot of dirtiness in Washtenaw County, y'all. And I'm pretty much done with Scott Adams, but people need to take those types of situations and be able to use them as fuel. Because that message is going to continue to be circulated. You know, the couple hundred people that'll end up watching this stream, that's nothing. This video has already gone viral. This audio is everywhere now. And nobody's really talking about it because they're trying to figure out really why and where do we go from here. But I tell you, you go right back to where these publications are, taking them off the set, taking them out the paint. There ain't nothing. You don't need to get on his Twitter feed, his IG, his YouTube channel. You don't need to get on there and get to trolling him. That does nothing but uplift him more. That's all that'll do. What's up, cuz? That's all that'll do is uplift him more. We don't need to uplift a race soldier any higher than he already is. And the fact that he says he's leaving, he's vacating the black collective, and he's not going to give any more help to black people, let him go. I want to see how our lives are going to differ without his assistance versus how they have been affected positively with his assistance. Because I don't think he has helped one bit. Not one bit. I've never heard of Scott Adams doing anything with the black collective, black American collective, not people of color, not minorities. But yeah, just returning a message there, because I had sent a message out, you know, that the dirtiness of politics in Washtenaw County is really starting to rear its head. It's really starting to come out, and it's an unfortunate thing. It's an unfortunate thing based on the fact that so many of these people have known each other for so long. They've actually been in friendship and some in kinship with one another, but they're doing each other so dirty out here in the political world. And where people know what they're doing, I trust that everybody is of a lucid and a coherent nature when they do some of the things that they do. I know some people are going to say, oh, that was an error in judgment, or I made a mistake, or that was said and taken the wrong way. I get all that type of stuff. But when you blatantly try to work against people who have helped you along the way, you are a dog. You are a Judas goat. You are part of my Meritorious Manumission Acts series. This is the 2.0 act of Meritorious Manumission, because we have a lot of that going on in Washtenaw County with black American politicians, elected officials, appointed officials. And it's an unfortunate thing, and people that are so-called on the ground level grassroots sphere, they're a part of it as well. My problem with that being, when you get all interconnected and everybody goes in, you know, one for all for one, da-da-dee, da-da-da, but then only a few of you end up coming out, well, what happened to the rest of the people? Well, they get spun out, because once those people who were just in there on that selfishness tip, they get in there and they get them people who are on that righteousness tip, they get them spun out. Righteousness is nothing in politics anymore. And even when you are supposed to be working with your people, for your people, you get spun out a whole lot faster than them all lives matter folk. than them black and brown folk, than them minority folk, than them people of color folk. You get spun out way quicker. And they've been talking about these reparations task force, reparations advisory councils, reparations. I'm going to say it again. There is absolutely no way that a town, a city, a township, a county, a state can pay reparations to descendants of American chattel slaves. It doesn't happen. It can't happen. It's not possible. It shouldn't be expected. But if they are going to put together some form of redress programming for descendants, not people of color, not black and brown people, not minority, and not just black people. This has to be a lineage-based thing. This has to be the people whose ancestors or people that may still be living having to have gone through the Jim Crow era were directly affected by this. Because anybody that was around in 1865, they're not still around right now. But they possibly could have gone through the Jim Crow era, and if they are based on lineage, an American freedman, a descendant of American chattel slaves, then you talk about them receiving some type of redress from your town, from your city, from your township, from your county, from your state. But don't talk reparations. Reparations is a national thing. And what we have here in Washtenaw County, and much love and respect to my brother Ricky Jefferson. Ricky Jefferson is somebody, let me timestamp this. I think I started around 11:05, so about 32 minutes in, I believe. Ricky Jefferson implemented some things within the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners a few years back. And I'm not sure exactly if it was specifically sidelined because of all of the things that we had to deal with, dealing with the pandemic. But he was not able to see some of those things through because now Ricky Jefferson is no longer a county commissioner. But the graciousness of this soul, he continues to be a help and not a hindrance to the county, to the board. And what they're needing from him now is his voice to give this new advisory board for reparations in Washtenaw County validity. Because nobody else is as thorough as Ricky was, who currently sits on the Board of Commissioners. That would be Crystal Light, that would be Caroline Sanders, that would be Justin Hodge. And I believe there is another African American on the board, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check. I thought there was actually another African American on the board. Let me double check. I might be wrong on that. So you have Crystal Light, you have Caroline Sanders, you have Justin Hodge. Oh, no, there's a Yusuf Rabi, so I guess he's Arabic. And then there's Annie Somerville, who for some reason people think she's black. And maybe that's because Lee Tewson runs around talking about that's his niece. Now, I didn't know Annie Somerville was married to a black man, but he says that's his niece. I'm not sure exactly how that is his niece, but everybody's got that screwed up because they're like, you know, Annie Somerville is Lee Tewson's niece. I'm like, no, I don't think so, but maybe, but probably not, but okay. So there's 3 black county commissioners, 3 people of color, because they like to use that term. I've heard them use that term, people of color, minorities, and of course they use African American. So, but Crystal Light was just elected in, and Caroline Sanders has been in since 20, and Justin Hodge has been in since 21. But Ricky introduced this advisory board idea back in 2018, before any of these individuals came across the commissioner board. Would you say that, sis? Reparations talk is just that. Talk at least until entire reparations conversation goes to Congress, if need be to the United States Supreme Court. All that's happening now is straw being thrown in the wind, giving for additional documents to be destroyed. Hey, I like the way you explain that, Sister Cosetta. I like the way you explain that. I don't want to deem every reparations discussion or task force, as they want to call it, advisory board, advisory council, I don't want to render them useless. Okay? I think what they're trying to do in their own unique way, which isn't very unique, because it's all rooted, a lot of this stuff is rooted in HR 40 isms. I've tried to explain that to a couple people, but they weren't even up on HR 40, so it didn't do any good for me to bring forth this. Hello, Colette Vinchenko. I don't know exactly what it takes for people to really sit down unless they go all the way back and look at the discussions about reparations. Real reparations discussions, not HR 40. I don't need a study. Not that I don't believe there needs to be some type of committees and, but you got to have economists in the discussion. You got to have attorneys. You got to have accountants. Of course, you need politicians. You've got to have entrepreneurs. You got to have people from the community. There just can't be people that have been elevated from their otherwise political spaces to be on task force. You need to have a well-rounded scope of people speaking. And if you don't have anybody in that 70, 80, maybe a 90-year-old range who might still be of a lucid nature talking, I think you're false anyway, because you're just talking from a 30, 40, 50-year-old perspective. That's not the perspective that we need. We need some of these people that have went through this. I need to hear from the elders. I need to hear from the people who could not use the bathroom in a certain space, who could not use a water fountain or go into restaurants and all that stuff. We don't need to just read about that. We don't need to just watch videos about that. How about having some of those people who actually had to go through that? American freedmen, descendants of enslaved individuals in this country. But when we don't hear that, we just hear about these politicians, these political figures in their 30s and their 40s and their 50s, and they want to study it. What's there to study? We need to be studying the legacy and the history and the institution of American chattel slavery, yes, and how it has held back those who descend from that. But anything else doesn't need to be studied. It's in the groundwork. It's literally in the groundwork. I mean, for Washtenaw County to put something together like this, and I just want to really read their press release where it said the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners approves new advisory council on reparations. Now, this happened on February 15th, and the press release went out on the 16th. At their February 15th meeting, the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners approved the establishment of the Advisory Council on Reparations. The council aligned with a national trend of the study and repair of systemic and institutional racial injustice is the next step in an ongoing effort by the board to advance racial equity. I guess there's validity there. But once again, are we talking about globally, or are we talking specifically about Washtenaw County? This is why we have a racial equity office and a racial equity officer, said Commissioner Caroline Sanders, vice chair of the board. This council will help us to study systemically just how harmful county policies and practices have been on black residents in Washtenaw. Going back how long? Are we going all the way back? Are we going all the way back to 1865 and beyond? How long are we talking about going back? Well, let me look at this. Hold on one quick second. Give me 1 second. Because this is where we could be in a trick bag. Washtenaw County. The county goes back to 1826. Authorized legislation in 1822, and Washtenaw County goes back to 1826. That's some 39 years before the abolition of slavery. So are we going back to 1822/1826 with these racial inequities? What are we doing here? Or are we just saying for the last 30, 40, 50 years? What are we really going back to? These are the questions that constituents of Washtenaw County need to be asking. Primarily American freedmen constituents. Every summer visiting my grandparents in Arkansas, going to the movies meant all black children sat in the upstairs balcony. And all the white children sat downstairs. I'm almost 73 years old. Oh, I can talk about it. And so can many black boomers. Yeah, see, you can talk about it, Sister Cosetta, but so many bourgeoisie black boomers won't talk about it. And I got a lot of them in my community here. A lot of good church going folk. A lot of good church going boomers that's sitting on their hands and keeping their lips zipped shut. They're not going to talk about it. You 73 and you experience segregation in a movie theater. Now we got some 73s, some 83s, and possibly some 93s that could still speak on things like that in Washtenaw County, yet they won't. Why? Because they're being quiet, because that's what they were taught to do. I mean, hell, my grandmother, if she would have lived, she'd be 103. She told me not to look a white man in the face when I was growing up in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I was told that 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. I'm talking about the mid-70s. It still had that, she had that fear in her. Now, she'd cut you from ear to ear with the blade she carried in her purse, but she still had a fear for me, for my safety. I think she felt like she could defend herself, but she never wanted me to be put in that position to where I would have to defend myself against a white man. So don't look him in the eye. She told me that. I wish I would tell one of my grandchildren. I tell my grandchildren as I told my children. You always look somebody in the eye when you're talking. I don't even hold good eye contact when I'm in conversations. But it's what I taught. You don't never bow down to nobody. Ever. For any reason. You're not inferior. But as Caroline Sanders was saying, this council will help us to study systemically just how harmful the county policies and practices have been on black residents in Washtenaw since 1822, Caroline. We need to go all the way back in the time. They will help us come up with real, practical solutions, not just performative ones, to close the gaps we know exist here. Once again, that sounds like trying to close the racial wealth gap. The racial wealth gap. You're not going to close the racial wealth gap in Washtenaw County with Washtenaw County reparative justice initiatives. It won't happen. Brother Craig, good afternoon to you. It won't happen. It can't happen. Washtenaw cannot foot the bill for every descendant of chattel slavery in Washtenaw County. So, what Washtenaw County can do is they need to put together, they've got their advisory board, now you need your oversight commission, and that needs to be of community constituents. And those people need to be able to work along with the Board of County Commissioners if that's who's going to head that. I don't see City Council in Ypsi doing it. I definitely don't see City Council in Ann Arbor doing it. And anybody around the county, I don't see any of those township boards doing it either. So if the county commissioners are going to spearhead some type of reparative justice initiative, then there also needs to be a community-based oversight commission. And I know the people that listen are going to listen and take this back to their little rabbit holes. I get it. So that's why I'm being as thorough and as being as palatable as I need to. I don't want nobody to say, oh man, he was on there yelling and cussing. I couldn't listen to that mess. I couldn't listen to it. No, we're going to talk clearly today. We're going to talk thoroughly today as normal, sans profanity. If I cuss a little bit, excuse me. It's just an exclamation point. That's it. That's all it is. An exclamation point. What'd you say, Sister Cosetta? Up north, up north, the difference was many attended integrated schools, but sat in segregated classrooms. Absolutely, the eye contact is powerful. My parents always taught us that. You fear nobody. Absolutely not. Absolutely. But see, everybody didn't come up under that same mantra, and I get it. And being that my grandmother was born in 1920, and obviously her mother was born into the 1800s, that's what they had to deal with coming up. And she carried that all the way up to Ann Arbor, Michigan. Being gainfully employed, being a homeowner, she still felt that sense of inferiority. And hell, we still got that sense of inferiority with some of these boomers that are still around here sitting on their hands with their lips zipped shut. I get it. An evolution of an exploratory committee led by the Racial Equity Office and the Advisory Council on Reparations will be a perpetual body of commissioner-appointed subject matter experts. Experts. Now, these are supposed to be experts. I'm not sure exactly, because see, I done seen so many people called experts recently. I'm not sure what the word expert even means anymore. I thought I knew what the word expert meant, but everybody is an expert on everything now. So I have a question about expertise in this case. I don't know anybody that could be considered an expert on reparations in Washtenaw County that's my age. Because they're not talking reparations. A lot of this has HR 40 written all over it. Dan the Soul Man, what's good? Representing relevant sectors, housing and real estate, education, K through 12, education, post-secondary, workforce development, economic development, blah, 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 blah. Whole bunch of babble. They put all them same talking points into everything. Now, this is a part of the reparations discussion in Washtenaw County. This is the same stuff they doing for people that ain't even supposed to be here. Illegals. Fugitives of justice. People who fled other countries and are being welcomed in this sanctuary territory. You given the same type of redress, which it shouldn't be called redress. That actually to them should be called a gift. Because you're giving up these type of initiatives to people that shouldn't even be here. Paperwork, none. I just heard about this Central Academy today. I felt crazy when they were introducing this whole thing to me. I didn't realize they have a school specifically for Arabic kids, a school system, K through 12 in Ann Arbor, Michigan. K through 12 made for Arabs. Had no idea. Had no idea it even existed. No idea. Now I know. Now it's going to be interesting doing research because they say they have a 100% college enrollment program. They enroll every single one of their high school seniors into a college. That's a great ratio. Every one of their high school seniors goes off to college. What are the percentages at Huron High School, Pioneer High School, Community High School, Skyline High School, hell, Gabriel Richard, Green Hills, any of the other high schools? I'd like to know what their college penetration rate is, because the Central Academy, they profess to have a 100% 100% college enrollment penetration with their graduating classes. That's powerful. And they only cater to one faction of people. Message. My mom was from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and she always said there was not enough money anyone could give her to move back south. Anywhere. Yeah? They dealt with so much. They dealt with so much, and you either grew tired of it, aggravated, embarrassed, insulted. I get it. There's some people that say they can never leave the South, and there's some people that say they can never go back. I get it. I try to understand all of their ideologies because they all had different things happen to them that made them feel this way. So I totally get that. But listening to this babble, it makes me already understand this advisory board is not going to be, one, lineage based. They are going to seek out black people. They are going to seek out minorities. They are going to seek out people of color. And they are going to dole out whatever resources are available, they're going to give them to melanated people. It might not necessarily be a descendant of American chattel slavery. They are tasked with developing recommendations to the Board of Commissioners in the form of a Washtenaw reparations plan. Babble. It's time, said Commissioner Justin Hodge, District 5, chair of the board. He's only been a commissioner for less than 2 years, and he's already the chair. Message. The board has demonstrated its commitment to equity, and this is a logical next step. It's time for us to do what communities all over the country are doing. This is going to get interesting. That means looking at the real toll of racism on black people in our county, our complicity, and doing something about it. San Francisco has taken a bold step. Where? Evanston, Illinois has taken it. Where? Atlanta, Georgia, Los Angeles, Berkeley, California. What? Where? How? When? St. Louis, Missouri. Asheville, North Carolina. Y'all already know. We talked on Asheville, North Carolina, maybe 2 years ago. They served up one of the first nothing burgers as far as reparations on a local scale went. And all these other ones in between with Evanston, Illinois, they are all nothing burgers. But y'all keep eating. Y'all keep voting in the people who want to help the people of color and not American freedmen, not descendants of American chattel slaves. And every time they want to bring up race, we're done. Race-based initiatives don't work. They can kill it from the first step forward. Lineage-based initiatives is what's going to work. But we'll keep letting this little babble circulate until they figure out every time they want to put this in front of conservatives, hell, centrist, because you got to be left to be talking like this. You're not going to get very many centrists to talk like this, and you ain't going to get nobody on the right to talk like this because they don't want to talk about race. What's the name of the school again? It's a private school, no taxpayer or government funding. I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about there. Oh, Central Academy? Central Academy. If you're talking about that local school here. We have the authority and the desire to repair systemic wrongs, and I look forward to seeing that work comes out of the Advisory Council on Reparations. There he said it. Your chair of the board has said it. They are going to repair the systemic wrongs that have happened in Washtenaw County. My two questions are, how far back are we going? And is this lineage based? Or are y'all just looking at black folk? We get those two first things answered the correct way, then you can start to iron some things out. But right now, this looks like a people of color mission. The Washtenaw Reparations Plan will aim to outline the specific ways county policies have historically and continually harmed the lives of black people. It will include specific actions to address redress in the sectors of home ownership and access to other quality, affordable housing, increasing business ownership and business career opportunities, strategies to grow financial equity, generational wealth, closing the gaps in healthcare, education, employment, and pay, neighborhood safety, fairness with criminal justice. Bullshit. You can't do that as a county. Sounds like somebody's copying and pasting things from national reparations plans. But that's just me. Also sounds like some HR 40-ism has eked up into somebody and they looking at some other things. They talking a whole lot of smack here. And Washtenaw County ain't gonna do this. The creation of the Washtenaw County Reparations Council is in part an implementation of our county-wide engagement strategy from the 2018 equity policy shared Ricky Jefferson, former District 6 Commissioner. So they had to go back and get Ricky Jefferson to make a statement that halfway makes it sound like it's got some legs to it. Why did they need to go back and get Ricky Jefferson? Because he's been voted off the council. Annie Somerville now sits where Ricky Jefferson sat. Annie Somerville was elevated from Ypsilanti City Council because she had people in Ricky Jefferson's backyard working for Annie Somerville versus working for the person who has gotten that district thousands of dollars. Brian Foley, any of them, they owe a debt of gratitude to Ricky Jefferson, but what they gave Ricky Jefferson was their ass to kiss. Ricky Jefferson elevated the South Side to where it's at. No one else, Ricky Jefferson. Ricky Jefferson helped Jerry Clayton implement programs during his time as a commissioner that he'll never get credit for. But some other people will grift in and act like they were in play while all these things were going on. So now that Ricky's not in the paint anymore, oh, let me take that credit. Let me get that credit. But for the person who knows where the bones are buried, they don't want him to really start talking. But for someone like myself, who might not know where all the bones are buried, hey, I can understand where grass ain't growing. And I can understand where grass is growing and who planted those seeds. So, back from 2018, Ricky Jefferson started a equity policy that was never pushed forward. Never, ever pushed forward. It was to be introduced before he left the commission after he had been voted out. But now, State Senator Sue Shank stepped on Ricky Jefferson's opportunity to do that in the last county commissioner meeting of 2022 that disallowed him to introduce it properly. And now that Ricky's out the paint, now they're going to basically do a do-over. They need a do-over, even though they've already kind of got the groundwork and will basically use Ricky's plagiarized work. Because if Ricky ain't pushing the policy, it's plagiarism. Unless y'all totally disband all the ideology that Ricky put forth from 2018 through 2022, if y'all use what Ricky put forth, it's plagiarism. And if he's not a part of it, I already know it's going to be bullshit because y'all all about people of color. Ricky was trying to help black Americans, descendants of American chattel slaves. They didn't want that. They want to help people of color. They want to help minorities. They want to help black people. The council is designed to include a diverse group of leaders from their respective occupations to discover ways that can undo the negative impact of the county caused by systemic discriminatory policies. They will develop recommendations for the board of commissioners to deliberate and come to an agreement on how best to target strategic investments. They'll help the board craft policies centered on equity, which can assist African American residents in receiving reparative socioeconomic justice. Ricky understands about reparations, knowing that it is a national debt. And he also understands that reparative initiatives can be had, whether it be by cities, towns, townships, states. but not reparations. So in looking at that, I was like, okay, they're already kind of dead in the water to me, because the person who introduced this policy isn't even a part of the board anymore. Not even a part of the board. I'm not saying that it can't proceed without Ricky, or it can't even be fruitful without Ricky. But where they are and what they're talking about, if it starts where they're thinking and ends up what they're thinking, all of these other areas around the country have failed miserably. Asheville to Evanston, they have failed miserably trying to provide local reparations. And the people who qualified for whatever programs, because a lot of this stuff is empowerment zones, which anybody can get. They might make it more palatable for minorities, but that doesn't disqualify Mexicans. That doesn't disqualify Puerto Ricans. That doesn't disqualify El Salvadorans, Guatemalans, Arabs, Palestinians, Chaldeans. Anybody with melanin in their skin can get these empowerment zone funds. But they want to call it reparative justice, but they're not doing the part that means reparative justice. Why are those folks owed anything? They were not, and ancestors were not, a part of American chattel slavery. And for the most part, Jim Crow. So how can they qualify for programs that they weren't even on this soil to qualify for? That's my question. And I don't believe that the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners is taking any of that into consideration. I don't think they're talking lineage-based initiatives at all. I keep hearing black people. At the end there, I heard African Americans. But this has to be lineage-based. If not, it's a falsehood. It's a total falsehood. You know, I need to address something before I go to the Detroit Reparations Task Force and define task force. Because I didn't need to do it for the Washtenaw is not calling what they've got going a task force. They're using the advisory council, which I don't think is a bad term. I just think that we need to start lowering the volume on reparations. And if you want to say reparative justice, reparative initiatives, that's one thing. But when you start talking about reparations, I think that gets confused with the national discussion. So, few of you have been a part of some posts that I've actually had over the last few days, maybe even my last stream. And I want to personally, publicly, apologize for anybody that's had to endure any of the clown shit by this name Tim Grandin. We know who he is now. He's been identified by credible sources because of the dialect that he chooses to use. And his attacking me and trying to attack my family has pretty much gone unnoticed. I've came back at him and said what I needed to say. But the problem with it all is that if he had any type of validity to what he had said, he wouldn't have taken to my post to spew what he had to say. He would have actually just posted it himself, tagged me in it, tagged people that I was involved in it, tagged people that I may have snitched on. That made me laugh. When anybody wants to call me something that I'm not, it always makes me laugh. Because I don't care what you say, just say it truthfully. You can say whatever you want to about me. Just say it truthfully. Yeah, I get a little out of my way when you say things about my lady, about my family, whatever. But they know who I am. They know where I am. And as long as you don't take one awkward, slew-footed step towards a family member, we won't have a problem. See, I don't feel the need to protect my family from someone that I know is not going to take a step towards them. Because if they do take a step towards them in any type of way of trying to hurt them, then that's where I would actually step in. Other than that, meaningless commentary means nothing to me. So I appreciate anybody that's had to endure that and understanding, hey, if you don't know me by now, you'll never know me. So I don't stop my life to step on roaches. Because see, when I grew up, we didn't have roaches. I had to go to other people's houses to even see and know what roaches really look like. We didn't have roaches. Now, once I identified what a roach was, I tried to step on every one that I could, every time I incurred one. So if I spend all my days just trying to find and step on roaches, I'll never get anything done out here. Roaches can't be my mission. Now, if I see one, I'll step on it. But even when I see one, I can't go out of my way to step on them. And as I stated in the caption, I don't smoke roaches, and I'm definitely not going to debate with roaches. Now, I might have some lyrics for you. I might give you a couple limericks. Absolutely. Because that's just what I'll do. But as far as trying to defend I'm not no snitch. Who you saying is a snitch? I ain't no snitch. Who I snitch? I'm not going to get into that shit with nobody. I'm never, ever going to get into it. Whether I was, wasn't, is, ain't. Come on now. Come on now. If you got the proof, if you got the 302 with my name on it and who I snitched on, post it. Tag me in it. I'll accept it. I'll put it up myself. Fact is, you don't. So shut the fuck up. And leave these good folks alone. They ain't got nothing to do with your foolishness, Timmy. Go pop a blue pill, get on your all-male dating apps, and have some fun with yourself. You gets no run here. He probably in bed with some boy. So he probably gonna come back and say something after he watches this. He'll say something after he watches it. Maybe he won't even watch it, just say something. But I want to read something so people can understand. We've been on over here about 65, 75 minutes. Task force. There we go. Task force and what it means. A task force, an armed force organized for a special operation. That's not the definition that I need. The definition that I need is a unit specifically organized for a task. It's that simple. A unit specifically organized for a task. But then I wanted to articulate, what does a task force do? The key word in the phrase task force is task. That is, a task force is organized to accomplish particular goals or tasks. Unlike a board, we were just talking about the board of commissioners, or a standing committee that has ongoing responsibilities, within an organization, Washtenaw County, a task force is usually time limited, focusing on specific goals. Brother Jonathan, how you doing today? So I'm going to read that again without the interruptions. The key word in the phrase task force is task. That is, a task force is organized to accomplish particular goals or tasks. Unlike a board or standing committee that has ongoing responsibilities within an organization, a task force is usually time limited, focusing on specific goals. Yeah, we need you to get up out that bed, bro. C-19 done took you all the way down to Chinatown. I don't like to hear about anybody getting sick with this thing that we still got in our atmosphere, within our midst, that they don't talk about. But when I hear about people that I know are actually really healthy people and been down for over a week with this thing, still let me know there must be some variants out there that folks that are vaccinated, let alone anti-vaxxers, can get to disable you. So we got to be careful. We got to be mindful. We got to be careful. We got to be mindful. I personally am not walking in any foreign space for any extended period of time without protection. I can't. I can't take the chance of being sick and bringing that back. I'm in the face of a 3-year-old all day, all night. Whether she goes off to school or not, she rides in this vehicle. I can't have her breathing something that I end up bringing her because I was irresponsible. Hand washing, hand sanitizer stays on deck. Wipes stay on deck. I just been getting into her talking about cleanliness. Cleanliness. Cleanliness might not be close to godliness, but it'll keep us away from COVIDness. I truly believe it's still a bacteria that can land on you. You can wipe your mouth. You got it. Next person got it. Next person got it. I don't like it. And they're not talking about it no more. Oh, he said the sound cut out. Am I losing y'all? They might. You know what? When I get to talking about C-19, stream starts getting a little sketchy. Stream starts getting a little sketchy when I talk. So I'm gonna get on with the task force stuff. I'm glad you're up and about, able to listen, my brother. I talked about Scott Adams at the beginning. He was Dwight Thought of the day. He was Dwight Thought of the day. I actually consulted with you, one of the people I consulted with about the Ben Stein situation. And the Scott Adams situation is as alarming, but most people haven't seen that, just as they hadn't seen Ben Stein. But it is what it is. But this task force thing, people need to be careful when they put together these task force. I too. I've literally read it because it was a part of other comic strips that I might have been reading in whatever publication, but I ain't like no subscriber to DILBERT. And when he said like he's helped a whole lot of black people, I don't want to know. He's never even had a black person in his comic strip. How do you have a comic strip in 2023 and you don't put black people in it? But that's Scott Adams. And he's out, he's out. So 35 years of not being a supporter of DILBERT. He's going to miss you, but he's not going to miss you nearly as much as he's going to miss me because he's done with black people. So I'm twofold. I not only wasn't a loyal reader, I'm black. So he's getting rid of both of me. But it is what it is. What it is, what it is. So, this task force term, what really concerns me is a task force is usually time limited, focusing on specific goals. Washtenaw County is all over the place with their advisory council initiative goals. I'm going to read something from the Detroit Reparations Task Force. And I don't know if they're any more clear, because I believe they're leaning towards something along the lines of an Asheville or Evanston as well, which isn't really going to do anything for the masses of American freedmen in the city of Detroit. It will help a few, but it's not going to help all those who qualify for reparative justice. That's where I find it to be somewhat of a nothing burger. And we'll talk more about that in a second. What'd you say, Wax? He also questioned how many people died in the Holocaust. So many reasons he could find. See? You see how y'all get? You see how y'all get when y'all get upset about y'all shit? If black folks got upset about our shit the way American Jewish people get about their shit, we'd be in a different space. We'd be in a different space. I ain't never heard an American freedman, or I guess they would be considered an African American because they probably don't call themselves an American freedman. I ain't never heard an African American say, man, they tried to say that slavery was only 100,000 people. Fuck them. I ain't never heard one say it. But we'll argue with each other about what we need to be called in public. But American Jewish people, if you question how many people died in the Holocaust, man, they're ready to run your ass out the motherfucking country. Out the country. But see, we talk about being on code. That's on code. Shit. He was like, fuck it. I don't give a fuck who he is. I don't give a fuck what he descends from. Fuck him. But we can't do the same. We give passes. Because that's my man. That's my main man. Absolutely. Absolutely. We the only ones stuck on stupid out here. We working against each other. We stuck on stupid. I've seen different generations. In this country, there's been a collective of generations where American Jewish people and American freedmen worked together on this soil and made billions. But now they run the narratives to try to make us, make us hate each other, where I don't have this cohesiveness with Germans, with Irish, with people from Great Britain. But American Jewish people and American freedmen, who most people are going to call it African American, have created some of the most powerful infrastructures in this country. Period. Period. Oh, you ain't interrupted. I'm good. But what we're dealing with now is divisiveness amongst the collectives, and then they're trying to burn bridges between the ethnicities. What I see now that's going to happen in Detroit, in all due respect, you know, you're really a Royal Caribbean type of gal, ... I get that it wasn't your choice, but you've never had anything but top tier treatment on that cruise line, and I know everything else to be less than, period. I was letting the text sit. My daughter hit me. Grandson's back, can't wait to see that boy. So I'm thinking what's going to happen with Detroit's Reparations Task Force. It will be somewhat co-opted. I'll be honest with you. I believe it's going to be somewhat co-opted, and it will look towards studies and intermittent type movements for folks, but I don't even know if they are focused on lineage-based reparative justice initiatives. But I want to read. Excuse me. No, I don't want that. Shoot. Hold on one second, y'all. Okay. So, just understanding the article, where it was, this is what they're putting together in Detroit. This is Detroit City Council. First and foremost, I have my ambivalences about the city council. City council, by and large, is usually a bunch of Pan-Africanists. I think there are some people who believe in the political system. They obviously wouldn't be a part of the council, but mindset-wise, I've heard a lot of Pan-Africanism ideologies through the years. A lot of those people have gone by the wayside, but hell, they got some right now, so it is what it is. But it says, Detroit City Council, Reparations Task Force to research harm caused by systemic racism. Now, I don't know if this is bad writing or if this literally is in full-throatedness of what the city council had to say and what the Reparations Task Force in Detroit had to say. So I'm going to read what it is. Detroit City Council highlighted the city's Reparations Task Force Executive Committee in a Friday announcement at the West Side Unity Church. Council President Mary Sheffield, who helped spearhead a successful ballot initiative to establish a reparations task force, said the 13-member body will research harm done to Detroiters through slavery and systemic racism practices of the past and present. How far are we going back? How far are we going back? How old is Detroit? Are we going back all the way back? Washtenaw County is 1822. How old is Detroit? Is Detroit, is it 1813? What's the shit? No, Detroit's a couple hundred years old. It's a couple hundred years old. It happened before slavery was done. The 4 executive members appointed by Sheffield include Keith Williams, Lauren Hood, the Reverend Joanne Watson, Dr. Joanne Watson. What's she going to be? The Reverend Dr., Good Reverend Dr. Deacon Doug, what? Dorian Tyus, and they will be responsible for addressing economic mobility and the opportunities for black Detroiters. Economic mobility and opportunities for black Detroiters. We all know that African Americans have been unjustly enslaved, segregated, murdered, brutalized, incarcerated, denied housing, mortgages, displaced, fake, blah, 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 blah. The enslavement and overall persecution of black people has enriched our country and created disparities in income, wealth, and education. Evidence of the systemic racism are still present today, Sheffield said. I am so glad that we as a city now will be joining that local movement, paving the way to stimulate economic growth and opportunity in the area of reparations. Communities have been discussing reparations since emancipation, Hood said, adding that the committee aims to steward the process of engaging Detroiters in the conversation. They emphasize that reparations are not about a one-time payout paradigm shift in practices and policy that govern communities. That was a weird sentence. I read it the way it was written. Go look at it for yourself. Jeez. Come on, Dana. What I want people to understand about reparations is that it's a process. It's a journey. It's not a destination. The process of harming black and indigenous people, black and indigenous people have transcended multiple generations. Who we helping? Black and indigenous people? The indigenous people, I thought, don't mess with y'all. The indigenous people say y'all not them and they not y'all. But they gonna get some of this because that's what they just said. The means, the process of repair. Look, I'm reading it the way it sits. The means, the process of repair will likely transcend multiple generations, and the benefits awarded. See, that's where the problem comes in. When they say the benefits awarded, they're making this seem as if this is a gift. They're making this seem as if this is some type of prize that American freedmen have won. Well, they're not saying American freedmen, they're saying black and indigenous people. So I don't know who's going to get these initiatives. The grammar's bad, spelling's off. It's a bad article. But some of these things are actually being quoted, so it's just bad editing. And the benefits awarded should have a value that transcend multiple generations. It's not going to be that because local governments cannot give reparations. Donnie Lupi, what's good, baby? Local governments cannot give reparations. Initiatives, reparative legislation, but reparations happens at the federal level. Black communities lost economic growth opportunities for years, particularly during the 1950s and 60s. See, this is my problem. This is where they're going to probably start working this. They're not going to go back into the 1800s. They're going to start working it in black bottom times. And that's going to cut off a history of our people from enslavement periods, the abolition, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, all through the 50s and 60s civil rights movement. That's where the problem is. That's where the problem is. I know people don't want to realize that. Yeah, it's good that they're thinking some things, but you got to think with time and you got to think from a lineage standpoint. Black and indigenous people of color, minority, ain't gonna get it. But the start of the task force marks the day of repairing the harm caused by racist practices executed by the white majority against African Americans. Williams called this an opportunity to rebuild and repair from practices that was thrown against black folks during those times. And I'm saying time out for this. We got a chance to make Detroit work for us once again. Members will serve for the life of the task force. And how long is the task force? Task force are usually time limited. It's going to work. There's not going to be any new members. So the members are locked in. So if the members are doing a shitty job, you're not going to be able to get them out. Think about it. The members are not doing what the constituents need for the members to do. You can't give them out. They're going to be in for the life of the task force. The other 9 members who membership council approved on Tuesday: Alan Venerable, Jeffrey Robinson, Camille Collins, Bernard Parker, Gregory Hicks, Maurice Weeks, Janice Hazel, Sidney Calloway, and Anita Bell. So there's 13 members, and they're going to be on for the life of the task force. For folks that say it will never happen again, just to get to this moment was somebody's wildest dream. Can you imagine what freedom looked like to a slave? People were like, that's impossible. That would never happen. So anybody who in this moment thinks that reparations are not possible, look what we've done so far. What? You put a task force together. You put an irrevocable task force together. They're on for the life of it, no matter how good they are. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that if this task force is not successful, not being able to take 1, 2, 5, 7 members off of it and replace them with people that could be fruitful? No, they're just in it, good, bad, or indifferent. That's your task force. That's it. At least for the county board of commissioners, they can be voted out. They can be voted. They're not going to let you stay on the advisory board of reparations if you're not on a board of commissioners. But here, these people are in no matter what. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? If I was a police officer, and God forbid, just went out and just shot somebody every day, shot somebody every day. Now, there probably are some police officers who probably did that shit. I don't know. But in my contract said, no matter how many people you shoot, we can't take your badge and we can't take your gun. What kind of task force is that? If you are put together to have the goals for a specific task and you don't fulfill that specific task, why shouldn't you be able to be removed in mass or individually? I'm sure all those task force members are going to have individual jobs, right? And if they all got individuals' jobs, right? What if those people aren't doing those individual jobs? Right? Wouldn't you want those people gone? But if you can't remove them, if they're there for the life of the task force, and the task force isn't fruitful, how long do you think the task force is going to last? Call me crazy. Just don't call me crazy when I'm sleeping. I want to hear you when you call me crazy. If it's a bad task force, they can't be uprooted and a new task force member or task force members be input. That task force is in no matter what. In my caption, when making sense goes wrong. What did I say? I said that, right? Ain't that what I said? When making sense goes wrong. Yeah. Because they was making sense when they did the task force, and then it went downhill from there. Shout out to all the grassroots people in Detroit who pick it up every day. I'm always going to shout out brothers like the elder Sam Riddle, brother Malik Shabazz, New Era Detroit. Brother Zeke is out here doing his thing One person at a time, entering and exiting grocery stores, liquor stores, gas stations. He's got his people all over the city. He's doing what the Detroit Police Department couldn't do. Keep people from getting killed when they go shopping. This is why I need a producer, because I got to get Zeke. I got to get Zeke. I love what Zeke stands for, but I don't have the opportunity to just pick up and get Zeke on the cast. I need to be able to put that together. Excuse me 1 minute. Hello? Who's calling? Yes. Yes. Cancel, please. Okay, yeah, I'm not a part of that anymore. Not a problem. Thank you. You too. Bye-bye. They tried to attach my name on some shit. No, I'm definitely not a part of that. What's going on there? So, I don't do that. That doesn't happen. I'm not taking responsibility for anybody out there. Interesting. So, all we have to do is we really have to look, when people start talking about reparations, they start talking about task force, they start talking about committees and councils. Time frame. Let's start with a time frame. What are we doing within this time frame? If they don't want to talk about time frames, if they just think this is going to be some type of indefinite commitment, they ain't serious. And there's people in my territory that, you know, they put together some type of live stream last week, and it's unfortunate that they wasted the sister Camilla's time, because she shouldn't have been on that panel. She shouldn't have been on that panel to talk to them, to deal with them. She could have gave them a pre-recorded set and said, y'all just play this tape, because I'm really not needed to be live. But she was gracious enough to go on their panel, and it was just a lot of clown shit. I even heard that, yeah, we're probably going to end up like Evanston in Detroit. I mean, I was one ear in, one ear out dealing with the grandbaby. But what I was listening to was a lot of lunacy. And I have a hard time getting involved with a lot of sorority and fraternity stuff anyway, because most of it's clown shit. I know some solid soros. I know some solid frat dudes, but for the most part, you know, a lot of it's clown shit. You know, dancing and fish dinners, whatever. But when I hear people trying to put things together and they really don't want to build with the collective, they just want to try to go get what they would look at as big figureheads of the movement to try to make their platform look bigger. You look stupid when you don't have your shit in order, and then you bring somebody big in, and she's pretty big in the reparations space because they're doing what they're doing out in California, and she's an attorney and she's spoken nationally about this. But for some reason, people don't want to get their ducks in a row before they get to walking. And that's why you end up with a whole bunch of roadkill, a whole bunch of foul all over the street. And that's what happens. They look crazy as hell having that. Then they had it the day before the town. I wish they wouldn't have had that task force meeting, but it wasn't that many people on their live stream anyway. So to really make a difference before doing that. But the logic of having it the day before, now I get it. Why they put it together in the fashion that they did, now I get it. But if it's not moving your needle, why are you doing it? If it's not moving the collective's needle, why are you doing it? Because see, I'm only doing this video in the car because this is where I was. Once I can get back to doing things more so in the studio, I mean, I can only do what I can do. That's where I am, because obviously I can expand the stream with slides, with better audio, comfortability. Hell, I don't like sitting in my car 2 hours to do a stream, but I didn't feel confident that the test was going to go all the way through and me to be able to do the stream without it getting cut off. I at least knew I had a better chance of doing it this way. And then now what I'm going to start doing is uploading these streams to the not only the Freeman Media page, but to the YouTube channel, so I can have them go through and then premiere them and send them out to the necessary spots, which is fine. But reparations has to be spoken about in its correct terms and relevance. Reparations is a national debt. Reparative justice initiatives happens on our local levels, our state levels, cities and towns, townships. We don't look at it as such. If we think that we're just about to get this big windfall of money in our cities, towns, townships, counties, and states, we are lunatics. And for anybody throwing that out there, that they're going to be able to close the racial wealth gaps, because it's not just racial wealth gap between us and white people. I already told y'all, Indians and Asians are making more money than white folks are making in this country now per capita. So why are we trying to chase white folks? So we can be third? It's crazy. It's lunatics. But what we can do is we can have the at least political correctness about ourselves to understand what's obtainable on the local end for descendants of chattel slaves. Descendants. Not black people. Indigenous people. Not people of color. Not minorities. If you're doing it the wrong way from the beginning, how do you think it's going to end up? Because this isn't one of those things you can really correct down the line. You've got to correct it from the beginning. There's some things you can do and you can kind of start out kind of, going awry and then straighten it up, right the ship. But if this boat is like this, starting out, you'll never get right. You ain't never been on a cruise ship where the captain says, hey, we about to hit some rocky waters, but we're going to start out anyway. Last thing you want to do is have people throwing up the first 10 miles out. They wait for the waters to calm, and they'll tell you, we're going to depart in about 30, 40 minutes. We know our departure time is right now, but we got something coming. We're going to let that pass before we get out in these waters. They make sure they ain't got to right the ship if they can just hold out for a minute. Some people don't want to do that with reparations. Some people don't want to do that with reparative justice. And I switch back and forth between reparative and reparative. I don't know why, but I do. From what I've been told, both are right. I don't know. I don't like them words that both of them be right, but I switch back and forth. This person was walking up the hill. I thought the dog was by itself because I couldn't see the person. The person was walking up the hill. The dog was pulling the person. We got a lot of that out here. These dogs be out here straight up pulling grown folks. How would you get a dog that big? Crazy. But that's pretty much all I got for today. I dang near went 2 hours on this thing. And I did it because it had been a long time. I hadn't been up for a minute. Oh, Tim Grandin is up again. He's up again. Took her back. What about when Becky cheated on you and you was walking around looking stupid? What? Ray cheated on me? Damn. I didn't know she cheated on me. Damn. See, he's trying to be so obscure now, and now he's trying to act like he doesn't know that I know who he is. Now he's trying to act like I don't know who he is. You stupid and a snitch. You been police. Put that on your 2-person podcast. Yeah, there's 2 people in here, right? It's 2 people been in here. I done talked to several, but it's all one person. See, now he's trying to talk about my mom. That Barracuda you called mom should have used Plan. They had Plan B back in 1969. I didn't know they had Plan B back in 1969. He trying to be so random. He can't even get it straight. Now, he said he knew what Uncle Tom meant. He knew what Sambo meant. Now I'm Uncle Tom. Like I said, I am an Uncle Tom. I am an Uncle Tom. I'm always going to be an Uncle Tom. But he's a Sambo. And unfortunately, he ain't even a good Sambo because he's a white Sambo. He's a white Sambo. How you going to be a white Sambo? Dang. Scott Adams probably wouldn't like you either. You a white Sambo. Rich white folks don't like poor white folks anyway, so it's, it's different. But take it from Tim Grandin. Timmy, we all know who you are. It's all good. Your soft ass took her back. Man, I took her back. She cheated on me. She cheated on, what am I going to do? She cheated on me. Oh boy. Gotta let it go. Gotta let it go. But y'all be good. I'll get back in the studio. I got a couple sets of slides that we need to burn off. And for the people that didn't believe me about the situation with Nate Frazier, now you saw what happened. You saw how it happened. There's a couple people that I knew that actually went. What up, Dell? That's going to be funny. As that's going to continue to come out. I'm not sure why our county prosecutor continues to take up with the likes of predators and murderers, and I get it. I get that you need the votes, but damn, is it that bad out here for a vote? It's hard out here for a prosecutor. It's hard out here for a prosecutor. Yeah. Got to go get them votes in the you got to go get them votes in the nooks and crannies of the black neighborhood. Got to get them votes in the nooks and crannies of the black neighborhood, because they got that sauce. They got that sauce. They got that sauce to beat a bounce. God, we got that sauce. You know why they mess with us? Because we got that sauce. Come on, man. That's my man. That's my main man. Y'all something else. And now Tim Grandin done woke up. He done woke up and pulled his little booty plug out. Maybe he went a little boy down. I don't know. He like guys. So he woke up. He keeps talking about my smell. What stink? Hey. He keeps talking about my smell. He been talking about my smell. I don't know why he's so fixated on the way I smell. Any male that is fixated on the way another male smells, that means he must smell a lot of males. How many males do you smell, Tim? You got a whole chart of stink. Like, you say I stink. Like, I really smell bad. And I ain't never had one woman to ever say, like, ooh, you need to go shower. You stink. I'm a little vain myself. You ain't gonna see no dirt up under my nails. If you see dirt up under my nails, trust me, I'm heading home. I'm heading home. When I'm putting in work, I always got on gloves. I don't like dirt up under my nails. I pride myself in my cleanliness. I'm a little offended at that, Tim, that you think I stink. I don't stink. Why you think I stink, Timmy? Why you think I stink? Now I'm going to have to talk to Ray about cheating on me. She cheated on me. She cheated on me, had me walking around in the street looking stupid. And then I took her back. She cheated on you. And you was walking around in the street looking stupid. Your soft ass took her back. It's not bad enough that he calls me out my name. He calls me soft, and he calls me a victim of cheating. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? My life can't go on. Because I am not validated by Tim Grandin, a.k.a. Yeah, I can't get a name. We made a commitment not to divulge what his real name is. Not yet. Not yet. I mean, he's got several names. I'm not so lucky that I'm the only person he trolls. He trolls other people too. So I'm not the only lucky person here. So it is what it is. But what I am is I'm not one that's going to sit around and discuss things that aren't true about myself. I'll make fun of you all day long. Well, it's all day I got. Stuff like this makes me laugh. The only thing I'm really upset about is the fact that he thinks I stink. I don't stink. I stink? No, I don't stink. My breath don't even stink. I don't know what his problem is. He's fixated on my aroma. What's wrong with him? I even got lotion on my hands. Got cocoa butter. I can smell the cocoa butter. It's all good, man. We're going to leave Timmy alone right now. Got to be somewhere 2:30. Are they meeting? Is it 2:30? Yeah, I think it's 2:30. Make a couple calls and then probably be picking up the grandbaby in 3 hours. Hopefully she is landing 10 days in a row of good behavior. I'm looking for 10 days. 10 days is today. 10 days is today. So, if you're in Chicago, make sure you get out and vote for Gabriel Piemonte, Ward 5. Vote for Gabe. Election is today for alderman. And hopefully he can pull it out outright and ain't got to be a no runoff. But yeah, I'll get back at this thing. You know, as long as this internet get right, these interwaves got to be right at the house with the speed. So I can stream. If not, I'm basically stuck doing mobile, and it's impossible to do full streams. But it is what it is. We good. But y'all be good.